Hello and welcome to the Quincy Access Television Studios. Welcome to State View, a program that helps you to stay informed, lets you know about legislation on Beacon Hill and how it affects you in your town or city. Joining me today is Representative Bruce Ayers. He is a representative for the 1st Norfolk District. Bruce, welcome back.
Mark, nice to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about some of the things that are going on Beacon Hill.
We should mention to folks that aren't familiar with the 1st Norfolk District what area that covers.
The 1st Norfolk District encompasses about a third of Quincy, and my district continues out through the Blue Hills and goes into Randolph. So I've got a portion of Randolph and a good portion of Quincy. So it's a good size district. Each legislature has about 40,000 constituents. That's how it's all divided up. There's 160 state representatives and approximately about 140 constituents each one.
And obviously there's local initiatives, there's monies that are directed locally throughout your district, but there's always and also legislation that is proposed locally but affects the entire Commonwealth.
That's right. You know, I think and it's a great point, as a legislator, you need to look at it, I think, in two lenses. One, you know, you're voting on bills for the betterment of the Commonwealth, and two, you're voting on bills for the betterment of your district. You know, for instance, we just passed the state budget, which is a $63.4 billion budget, you know, that addressed a lot of things with housing, transportation, education, and then closer to home, working with Representative Chan and Speaker Mariano, we were able to address $73 million for local aid, which was a $2.2 million increase from last year. You know, we're very fortunate to have that increase, you know, to go back to the mayor, city council and school committee so they can plan accordingly. We also had an increase in funding for education. There was $24.5 million in unrestricted local aid for the city of Quincy to be used at their leisure. And then other items where we had $95,000 for a designated state police patrol for Wollaston Beach, Forest Brook Parkway. During the summer months, we want to have a designated patrol to crack down on speeding, littering, loitering, loud music, you know, protecting the residents on the other side of the beach and make sure that everything is clean and safe and well kept after. We also had money, $50,000 for the Quincy Fire Department, you know, for equipment and communications, $50,000 for our Quincy Council on Aging, and a number of different line items to address the needs of your district. But, you know, we try to work as closely as we can with our city officials to make sure, you know, we're on the same page with a lot of the goals and objectives that they're trying to accomplish.
Let's talk about a road closure. You mentioned the DCR. You mentioned the state police. Let's talk about property that's owned by the DCR. I'm looking specifically at Wampatuck Road, Chicktatawbut Road, and the closure. It's a pilot.
Yes, it's a pilot program that started a few weeks ago. It's going to run to September 6th. We're in the second week now. And the purpose of this, Mark, was to work with the residents in the Bunker Hill Lane, Wampatuck Road neighborhood.
Because it's become a speedway.
It has. You know, and this issue has been going on for many, many years, you know, and we've been trying to push the state, the Department of Conservation and Recreation to, you know, take preventive measures to assist the neighbors in that area. Those neighbors have been putting up with racing, drag racing, loud music, motorcycles racing, loud noise for years. So working with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, they had come up originally with some initiatives. We had additional patrols in that area. We had some other traffic safety measures to try to curb some of the problems up there, but we weren't getting the results we were hoping for. So again, working with the state, we had requested they continue to come up with other methods. They then performed a traffic study. The results of the traffic study came back saying that they were going to have a road closure, but they wanted to close it for the entire season. So it was a little too extreme. Working with some of my colleagues in the legislature in Milton and Braintree and in Weymouth, the impacts were just too big. So we continued to work with them to take a closer look and ask them if they could come up with another preventive measure, which they did. It was more data-driven. It was, the main problems we were having was on the weekends, Friday, Saturday nights.
So then concentrate on those problem nights.
Right. That's right. And these were the problematic times. So what DCR had agreed to do was to close the road on Friday evenings at 6 o'clock and to open them back up on Sunday at 6 o'clock to give some of the residents, some relief up in that area. We also wanted to take into concerns, the hikers and things like that still have access to the Blue Hills in that area. But so far it's been successful. We've been working very closely with the Quincy Police and Fire, State Police and Fire. The Quincy Traffic Department has been a big help. Ed Grennan and Ali Luff have been super with some of the traffic projections, working with the state traffic engineers also. Before we did anything, we insisted on having a neighborhood meeting.
Because anytime you say the closure of a road is likely, that's a big deal.
It is. And, that's one of the things that we were concerned with, making sure that the residents had proper input, proper notice, and that these precautions could be made. To have signage letting them know about the road closure, to have signage for no parking in the areas where people may tend to park to abut neighbors' houses. But we're gathering all the data and traffic input right now. Our end goal next year is to use all that data and information that we're gathering now for electronic gates. Right now, they're manually operated gates, but electronic gates is something that we hope to have installed next year around this time so that we can automatically open and close them. And with the data we're collecting now, we'll know the appropriate times and when to operate them. So it's just a way of providing some relief for those neighbors who have really put up with an awful lot, and working with the state to make some accommodations to help those neighbors, and keeping the neighbors involved.
And it's likely that folks that were not utilizing the road correctly weren't even from the area.
That's right. A lot of the people were coming from outside, the community, and these occurrences were happening at all hours of the night, all hours of the morning, disrupting the peace and quiet up there for the individuals.
Not to mention how dangerous
yes,
that is anyway.
Yes, that's a great point. There's been some, serious accidents up there, and we want to make sure that we're taking all the public safety measures and precautions we can up there, and also making sure the residents have the peace and quiet they deserve.
Let's look at Quincy Shore Drive and a National Grid streetlight improvement project.
Yes, this is another public safety project that's been ongoing. It's been going on for quite a while. The need to address the lighting, that is. Along Quincy Shore Drive and Wollaston Beach, there have been blackouts, areas where there haven't been streetlights operating for quite some time. So working again with the delegation, and in this case also two agencies, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, along with National Grid, to replace the streetlights that were out, or the ones that were in need of repair. And how it worked is the Department of Conservation and Recreation, the state, owned the cables underground, the wiring, the base, the conduits that the wire goes through. But National Grid owned the pole and the light above it. So we had to get, everybody kind of working in collaboration there. What we've been finding is, a lot of wear and tear on the lights for the age. Some saltwater corrosion on some of the lights.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yes. So it needed an upgrade. So some of the residents, I'm sure, have seen some of the ongoing construction that started about a month ago at Cowell Road on Quincy Shore Drive. That'll continue all the way down to C Street. It's projected to be done around the 1st of December. But what they're doing, of course, is now assessing all the lights along the way, upgrading them, new wiring, new bases, new conduits, all new lighting. Along with that, we'll have new sidewalks, we'll have new curb cuts, and we're trying to work as closely as we can now that construction has started with the neighbors, with the businesses, with Tony's, the Clam Box, and others to make sure that we can hopefully minimize some of the disruptions that are ongoing there. But any trees that may have been removed will be replanted, and the sidewalks will be replaced with all concrete. So when we're done, we'll have a new upgraded system for all the lights along Quincy Shore Drive, new sidewalks, new trees. And another new component, which is good, is each light now can be individually shut off and turned back on independently with the electricity.
So before they were connected almost, they were strung.
They were strung.
Okay.
So what would happen if you had to address one of the lights in front of the yacht club, for instance, they would have to shut down the whole road. So along with the new equipment and new features, we'll have new options to have quicker repairs in the future.
Squantum Point Park and the ferry.
We're really excited about the Squantum Point Park Ferry, and it's great to offer our constituents, an alternative means of transportation.
I must say, it's a great way to travel.
It's a real great way to travel. It's
you and I like the water.
We do, and I encourage people who haven't had an opportunity to try the ferry to try it because we're a seacoast community. Marina Bay Ferry is a great way to get downtown to Boston. The trip costs you $6.50. There's free parking all day. But
no traffic jams.
No traffic jams. And what it also does is it relieves pressure on the MBTA, on our red line system. It takes traffic off Neponset Bridge in the morning. It's not only good for transportation, but it's also good for our tourism out there. It assists our businesses and restaurants out there. Some of the latest advancements, Mark, Congressman Lynch was able to secure $4.2 million in federal funds, and I want to give him and his office credit to replace the pier, the gangway, and the dock. That project is out for bid right now. What this means with the money that will be included in that is upgrades so that we can operate with a larger ferry. How this would work is the pier and dock would have a longer gangway, so the pier would extend out further, preventing us from dredging, which can be very costly and time-wise for permitting, and allowing us for larger ferry boats to come in, bow-facing, to board. The new pier will also have a designated area for our police and fire. Should there be an emergency, they could access that point. But it's just going to be a huge upgrade, along with our goal to make it a year-round ferry. We have language in the bill that would commit the state to make Marina Bay Ferry a year-round ferry by the end of 2027. But having these new advances in that federal funding is a big step towards that. Now people can take the ferry. Of course, we have two new ferries. We've got two stops downtown. We've got a stop at Logan Airport, and it's 20 minutes to get in town. You can also go to Winthrop. Right now, we're currently in the middle of the MBTA's water transportation study. This is something that's been ongoing. Senator Keenan and I have been involved with. We're reaching out to the community, to businesses, to other areas along the coastal shoreline to get as much data as we can on ideas of how to improve the ferry, potential new stops, new locations, other ideas to improve ridership, perhaps with the MBTA and the Red Line, abutting connections to go right out to Marina Bay. There's a lot of things that we're taking in with the public and businesses and anyone involved, which I believe the study is going to be completed by the end of September. So we'll have a lot of those results to incorporate, hopefully, with the new ferry. But one of the ideas they had was to maybe potentially have a stop at UMass. So there's some great ideas out there. We certainly want to encourage people to weigh in. There's plenty of time to still do it. They can contact our office. But it's a great way to travel. We want to encourage people to try it out.
Let's look at home care services and Alzheimer's legislation.
Yes. Mark, in Massachusetts, our senior population is the fastest growing population, and it mirrors here in Quincy. Over the past 10 years, the senior population 60 and above grew by 24%, and it's projected in the next 10 years to grow, I believe, 27%. So as legislators, we need to take proper precautions to help our seniors and be ready for that increase in population. Two bills that we've been working on. One is home care services. And for the first time, Massachusetts was one of only a handful of states for private home care agencies that weren't licensed. Under this new bill, they will be required to be licensed. And that would come along with additional training and education for the employees. It would come along with additional insurance. It would come with workman's comp. It would come with extra reporting methods, so if there was any abuse, just a number of ways to offer protection for, a loved one who might be in need of at-home services. And we all see it. We might have a friend or someone who, God forbid, someone took a fall and they're in immediate need for someone who's going to be in need of services at their home. We want to make sure that if someone's coming into your home, that they're trained, they're qualified, they're insured, so that that individual, is going to be taken well care of in dignity and peace of mind. So it's a good bill that we're working on. The second bill has to deal with Alzheimer's and dementia, and again, addressing the increase in senior population. We want to make sure that we have the resources to help people that might be in a position who have that disease. The state, under the Department of Health and Human Services, is hiring a dementia control coordinator that will oversee new methods and policies of dealing with the Alzheimer's industry. We're also going to be working with our police, fire, and our EMTs, giving them proper training twice a year so that they can identify individuals who might have the behavior of someone suffering from these diseases.
Because there's also early onset Alzheimer's.
That's correct. That's correct. There's sometimes it's deceiving, because some people, they might experience it later in life, but we've seen early onset Alzheimer's with some people in their late 40s and 50s. So it's very important that additional steps are being taken. There's recording methods that are in the new bill. There's also closer contact with hospitals and families that working with visitation and proper measures can be made to accommodate them. So we're trying to do what we can to be proactive and to make sure there's adequate care for these families and seniors.
Micromobility and electric scooter recommendations. Do you own an electric scooter? I traveled on a Segway years ago, and that was a bit of a challenge. I think I have done scooters. I've done scooters over, I think, on Nantucket, but I haven't done any scooters around here. But you see a lot of those, especially electric scooters, now throughout the communities in which you represent.
That's true. And these, for residents, I'm sure, to your point, you see an awful lot of them. I see them all over downtown Boston with the food delivery and in Quincy here. And for residents of home, these are the electric bicycles and scooters and other devices now. And these devices are capable of going high speeds, and there's been a lot of public safety concerns. We see them, some of the people who are doing the food industry delivering, weaving in and out of traffic, speeding on sidewalks, speeding on bike lanes, just dangerous kind of reckless behavior. What the state is working on now is a statewide framework to address these concerns. And they're going to be addressing the concerns based upon the maximum speed of the device. So there's a number of different devices, like you say, there's bicycles, there's scooters, they call them micromobility devices. So there's going to be 4 speed classes that they identified, 0 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. Each one of those classes will have certain requirements. Someone over 16 now wouldn't be able to use a device that goes over 20 miles an hour. Someone under 16 now would be required to wear a helmet. We're trying to take public safety precautions into play here. The bill would have the RMV and the Division of Insurance put together new regulations so they could monitor this industry. What happened, like a lot of bills in some cases, this industry was growing so fast that the state wasn't able to keep up with the advances. So now what we're trying to do is set a lot of safeguards and regulate the industry to make it a safer industry, and to put some, much needed regulations on it. In some situations, depending on the speed, I know they could be required to be registered. They could be required to be insured. So this is going to be something that's working on now with the conference committee. The Senate has a version of this bill. The House has a version of this bill, but it's something I think that is needed. If any of the viewers watching or listening, they want to weigh in on it, we'd be happy to speak to them about it.
Let's look at nonprofit, charitable, fraternal fundraising legislation.
Yes, this is a bill that was in the economic development bill. And it's basically, in the city of Quincy, we're very fortunate to have such great fraternal organizations and veterans posts. What this bill would do is help them with their fundraising efforts. There's an outdated law that would just limit them to 3 fundraisers a year, also known as a bazaar. So this would lift the outdated cap that hinders a lot of these clubs, like the Elks, the Sons of Italy, the Knights of Columbus, a number of the fraternal organizations, and we're all aware of the great work that they do.
So currently they can only fundraise, they can only have 3 events per year.
Three big fundraisers a year.
Okay.
So this would allow them to raise more money, and particularly with our veterans posts, like in my district, we have the Nickerson Post, does an awful lot for the community. The Morissette Post, it does the same, an awful lot. But, with the Veteran Post, the Caddy Detachment now have merged with the Nickerson Post. And what we're seeing with a lot of these posts are, particularly with the veterans, some of the members could be dying off and they don't have the ability to pay their dues, and they're looking for other ways to raise money. So this would help them by lifting the cap to have more fundraisers. And, the types of things that these organizations are doing, and they're run on all volunteers. People get involved in this, volunteer their time to raise money for scholarships, for youth sports, food drives, Toys for Tots, a number of different things. So every dollar raised goes right back into the community. So it's just a way to help out these organizations continue and allow them to grow with their charitable endeavors.
Animal cruelty. This brings me back to Puppy Doe.
Yes, we're all familiar with the Puppy Doe case. This was another big bill, and we're continuing to build on stricter laws in Massachusetts against animal cruelty, because we hear, the statistics are alarming, just going up and up. What this bill would do, there's a number of components. It would crack down in a number of areas. It would allow more inspections in kennels to make sure that these kennels, are being properly run, that the animal's welfare is in good shape. It also gives the courts more authority if we hear of a person that might be abusing an animal, to come and take that animal away and prohibit that individual from ever getting an animal back. It also helps in housing authorities in some situations where someone may need a service animal, to get around and be independent. Some of these housing authorities may have a blanket policy where they just don't allow service animals. This now will allow them more opportunities to come up with better policies to accommodate them. And it also, with rideshare companies, with Uber and Lyft, there's been situations where someone might call one of these car services. The individual has the driver come up, and they deny them the ride because they have a service animal.
So this goes beyond cruelty. It's acceptance, basically.
That's right. So, what we've tried to do is get a lot of the concerns that we've been hearing from our residents, our seniors, and address them with provisions in the law. So we made some great advancements with this, and again, this is something I think that's overdue and much needed.
I guess we'll end. We are close to the end, but we have some time with the Helping Hand program. I know we have done a public service announcement in the past. I have actually brought in some crutches and some other supplies and donated them to you, to this program. Talk about this program.
Sure. And thanks, Mark. Because you've helped publicize that, we've been able to collect an awful lot of durable medical equipment, and what we've tried to do with the Helping Hand program, like we've talked about legislatively, with the increase of the senior population, we've seen it also with the Helping Hand program. We're getting more calls, more requests for equipment. So in order to accommodate that, we have a new website where people can go right to our website. I believe you might be showing the QR code, where they can click on that QR code. It'll take them directly to our website, and there's an equipment request form where they can very easily fill out what equipment they're looking for. And for residents who might not be familiar with the program, we collect durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, hospital beds, crutches, canes, tub benches, store them at our facility in North Quincy, and give them to residents free. So we just helped out a senior not too long ago that was at an assisted living facility. They weren't going to let her go home because the home wasn't conducive to her needs. But what she ended up doing is rearranging her dining room with a hospital bed, with a commode, and a tub seat that she got from the Helping Hand program, and she was able to be released and go back home. And that's what we want. Our goal is to keep seniors at home, living in place, living in dignity, and with the equipment that we've been able to collect from residents. And we certainly want to thank the residents for their donations, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to run the program. So we're very fortunate. It's people helping people at the end of the day, and everybody just kind of paying it forward.
Well, and often folks will use the piece of equipment while they need it, and when they no longer need it, it ends up in the basement or it ends up in the attic, and no one is making use of it. So this is certainly a good way to make use of equipment that maybe hasn't seen the light of day in a while.
That's true, because it's what happens. We hear from residents that say just that. They've had this wheelchair in their basement for a year. They don't want to throw it out, and there's no outlet for it. What can we do? Well, if they like, we collect them, we store them, and we find a worthy recipient and give it to them free.
You've actually had drives in the past that you've donated a considerable amount of equipment.
Yes, we recently had a drive where we helped out the people from Jamaica with the last hurricane. A lot of the clinics over there were in need with durable medical equipment. They were looking for crutches and wheelchairs, and we were able to do a drive, and with a lot of the help from residents in Quincy, put enough equipment together to put it in a shipping container, which they brought over, and was a big help for them out there.
Absolutely. And natural disasters, all hands on deck, right? Whatever help that they can get is greatly appreciated.
Yes, it was a big help. We certainly want to thank all the residents who pitched in there. It was a big help.
Absolutely. And this was a good way to end the program, too. Folks helping folks. Representative, thank you so much for joining me today and coming in for this chat. We do this on a fairly consistent basis, and it's always great for folks to stay abreast of what's happening on Beacon Hill, current legislation, and how it will affect them.
Great. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate all your friendship and support.
Very good. See you on the water, on the ferry.
See you there.
Okay. Thank you at home for watching, and please remember to support the local access station in the community in which you reside. Take care.